Ever crafted the perfect outbound campaign only to get ghosted? Well, you're not alone. In this video series, AEs and SDRs get brutally honest about sales outreach, showing their most creative tactics that got them ghosted, when they should have landed a meeting, and the unexpected approaches that actually worked. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Denisa, SDR Director at Puzzel. Welcome, Denisa.
Hey, Matt. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. All right, let's dive straight in. Would love you to share one creative piece of outbound that should have got you a meeting, but ended up getting you ghosted.
I remember many years ago when I was an SDR, I think one of the main pre-COVID, pre-AI topics were how can you do personalization at scale? So I was trying to, really stalk people, look on their LinkedIn profiles, try to pick out as much information as I can about them. And, hopefully by the end of it, have something that I can, use as a hook and basically do some creative messaging around it. And there I was. I found this prospect that used to work at the pet food company. So, and she didn't really have too much around it. So I decided to write this really elaborate email, somehow linking pet food companies and asking this prospect for recommendations on what's best for dogs. And yeah, somehow I linked it back to the marketing technology that I was selling at that time. And frankly, I can't think of a more cringe message that I've ever written in my entire career. It's one of those ones that still haunt me at night sometimes. Yeah, safe to say she never replied to me.
Well, but it certainly hits the brief on being creative. I think there's probably not too many outbound messages out there that ask for pet food recommendations. Well, look, onto the more positive side of things, we'd love to hear a story about a creative tactic that actually landed you a meeting.
So this one is a bit of a creative one that we actually did in a joint partnership with my marketing team at the time. Again, pre-COVID, pre-AI era. So one of the top challenges that we had is that we had a list of very senior prospects, head of and above level, C-level, that we've been calling, messaging, doing LinkedIn messages with over at least 20, 30 attempts in total. Probably some generations of SDR also reached out to them beforehand. And absolutely zero replies from them. And of course, the best day of the year, Valentine's Day, was coming up. So we were thinking, okay, what can we do to make this a really, memorable experience? Let's say that a prospect can well, not a prospect, but maybe something that can stand out in terms of the outbound campaign that they'll get from us. And we came up with this creative concept of sending them a tough cookie award. In essence, they were getting a ginormous cookie that was sent to their office and a bouquet of flowers, just enough to have all of their colleagues look at them and think, who the hell has sent you this, and why in the name of God is this? And then we sent a written note and also an email campaign, basically congratulating them that they just won the Tough Cookie Award of the year. And I just remember, of course, this was creative and, it was a really fun campaign and it stood out for humor because, every single message that we've written was done in a creative way as well. But what amazed me was the fact that we pretty much got a one-to-one reply to every single message we sent out there, which was insane. I don't think I actually remember any other campaign that we've sent to a limited number of all senior prospects where we got a one-to-one reply from each. Of course, none of them were like, yes, let's have a meeting, but most of them were really, really positive. And keep in mind, these were prospects that we've tried to reach over 20, 30 times each.
Love that one. I think, again, there's a couple of points there. I do think in the age, and you know this more than anyone, where the prospects inbox is just getting more full, especially now that AI has made it easier to scale outreach. It's the things that stand out and the things that have a human touch often are the ones that, can cut through the noise. And I just think, again, that's a great win for the near 100% reply rate, because again, it's not just about booking the meetings there and then. It's about you versus the other hundreds and hundreds of technologies being able to that was memorable. I remember this person from this company, so that maybe in 3, 6, 9 months down the line, when they may be ready to buy more willing, or they receive another bit of outbound when the timing is right, they can then think positively about that brand. So yeah, again, it's just about cutting through the noise and making them aware that you exist, which I think is half the battle. And then that, obviously the follow up is then key. But I love that as well, and especially around just the fact that it's gone to their office, their colleagues will have seen it, and it will just get them talking. Like it's a nice tongue in cheek one where they were probably thinking at one point like, hey, who's my secret admirer? So love that example. All right, well, let's move on to some quick fire questions. Firstly, what's one metric that every commercial leader obsesses about too much?
One that I definitely see in most companies is that everyone builds their comp plans, and it kind of trickles down to how everything is led from there onwards. And one metric that everyone obsessively focuses on is volume, which, I understand why that is important, booking a ton of meetings and generating opportunities or potential deals from there is obviously crucial to the healthiness of the business. However, one of the things that I have noticed over the year is that volume is simply not enough. It's actually quality that matters most. And I think it's a really underrated metric because it's harder for the businesses to quantify it. But the best SDRs are always the ones that, maybe do a third of the expected volume work, but that is the right type of activity that will get you the right type of deals. So I think because of all the noise around volume work, we sometimes forget the most important part, which is actually the quality of the work we're doing, the quality of the meetings we're booking, the seniority of that prospect. Yeah, and frankly, more time and effort should be going into that.
Great, agreed. What's one outbound best practice that you think is completely overrated?
I have a pretty unpopular opinion on this one. Or maybe let's say not unpopular, but definitely controversial. I definitely think this way of prospecting works. However, it doesn't really work at scale. And for me, it's video. And we've tried it a lot in different ways. We've also tried it at scale. I definitely think it works as part of a continued conversation and to get someone's attention. But when you try it in the very early stages of the process, I think it simply doesn't work that well because people are just afraid to click on links. And, we all have these hefty IT trainings where we're told, be very careful what you open, especially if you work in an IT function or somewhere very key in the organization where you have access to loads of different systems. And this is where I've seen the videos not really working at scale. People don't really click on them. And the earlier you have them in the process, the more reluctant they'll probably be to actually tap on them and look for them.
What is the channel or the lead source that gets the fastest deals closed in your experience?
I love this question. I mean, if I had £1 for every single time I've seen leadership teams fighting over lead sources, I'd probably never, I'd be richer than Jeff Bezos by now. I genuinely think the models that companies use sometimes hyper focus on where the lead source comes from, and it becomes a very political battle. And those models should tell you basically where you should invest more next year. But, the reality is most companies still struggle even with those hefty attribution models behind it. It's not as simple as that. From my side, I would love if everyone forgets for 5 minutes about lead source and just focuses on what is actually going to get us a close one deal. What actions can we all take towards it from all different departments to get us there? I think the discussion would be far more constructive if we would actually focus on that rather than, how can we politically position ourselves from each department. Yeah.
What's the most embarrassing outbound tactic you've tried that you'd never admit to your manager?
Ooh, I mean, in my early days, going back to videos a little bit, in my early days when I was practicing sending out videos to different prospects, I'm not, it doesn't come very naturally to me. So I feel that sometimes if I don't get it right the first or second time, then it will take me 10 plus times to get it right. And I'm not sure if it's like this for everyone. It's definitely my experience, but I've seen people being fantastic on them. And I had this particular prospect that I was targeting with video, and of course I didn't get the video right the first or second time, and then I'm not exaggerating. I probably filmed it 20 plus times, and I was speaking so fast that I'm pretty sure the prospect thought I sent it on fast forward. Because I was so anxious and I was trying to finish it all under 1 or 2 minutes or something like that. And my solution to that was not trimming down the words I had, but speaking faster. So it probably sounded absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, my manager never found out about that one for sure.
What's the wildest response a prospect has ever given you instead of just saying, no, thanks, not interested?
Oh God, there are a lot of tough moments, let's say, that I've experienced as an SDR. I think sometimes are the ones where you have a really good conversation and someone just decides to hang up on you in the middle of the call because it feels really dehumanizing. But I did have this one prospect that really went the extra mile that day, we were in the office. And we had those landline phones that people prospect can call us on. Basically, the company number was put on our website and people would call back for them. So I had this prospect that I called a few times, but nothing exaggerated. Maybe I called him 2 or 3 times. He didn't pick up. And then he could see that I had the same landline phone number that I dialed him from, basically, those 2, 3 times. And he called back the office and he was just screaming, going absolutely mad at me, telling me he's gonna report me to all the GDPR authorities. I think it was right at the start of GDPR becoming a thing. I'm pretty sure he even sent the message to my manager at the time.
And then final question, what's one piece of advice that you would have for SDRs and AEs?
I think there's a lot of noise around us, especially on LinkedIn. You log into it and all you see is how our jobs are going to be replaced. Everyone's going to, the world is going to be obsolete. There's some truth to it, like it is with most things in life. But I think there are also a lot of distractions and things that are not, they don't really quite match the reality, at least where we are at this point in time. I think it's really important that we all clear our minds of these distractions, and especially when you're a seller or, it doesn't matter, AESDR or anyone in a commercial team, I think you really need to kind of forget about everything that's out there and just think in a really actionable way. And I think the two simplest things that you can ask yourself, and it will definitely help you clear your mind, is what action can I do today or even right in this moment that will get me to a close one deal. And I think that's the simplest way to just refocus and reshift your attention to what's important. Of course, you can use all these fancy technologies to get you there. But I think it's, again, a bit like the lead source. It's very important to actually just think of the end result. What actions can I take towards getting a contract with the prospect? And if you can answer that question, you will also understand your customer very deeply, right?
Great. Awesome. Well, look, Denisa, thanks so much.
Thank you, Matt.